All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Here we are talking with a very special guest. We've got Nate Custer from Fema here with us as we talk about, because even though it's been, a month and a half now since we dealt with the winter storm in Texas and Oklahoma in this area of the country. I mean, people, thousands of Texans and Oklahomans are still dealing with the impact of that. Their lives completely upended, people having to move out. I mean, this has even happened in my family, which I'll get to that, to the specifics of that here in a little while. But we wanted to get Nate on here to be able to talk about, how people go through the process, because everybody's heard about FEMA when the hurricanes come through, people get with disaster, but it's not something that we typically deal with, here in North Texas and Southern Oklahoma specifically. Nate was telling us before we went live here that actually he worked the Moore, Oklahoma tornado back, 2013 or whatever. So, he has experience in this area, even though he's joining us from Virginia today. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Dave. Thanks very much for having me on.
Absolutely. So we wanted to get on here and get people in the Mad Rock Nation and Katy Country listeners and KLAK listeners an opportunity to hear it from somebody who knows what they're talking about. Because it's one thing for us to read from a cheat sheet like the information you sent us, but actually gets it from somebody that actually works with FEMA and can actually answer the questions. And we encourage all of the people who are watching this right now to post your questions on our Facebook pages, on our YouTube channels, and if it's relevant to what we're talking about, we can bring those comments or questions up on the screen, and Nate can answer those for you. So let's sort of just kind of get started at the beginning of this, Nate. So people that have been impacted by the winter storms in February, what's the first thing that somebody who's impacted should have done already?
If you have homeowners insurance, call your insurance company. But don't let that hold you back from registering with FEMA. Call the insurance company, give them all the details. Presumably, a lot of people hopefully have already done that by now. But you also can register with FEMA, and that can provide some funding for emergency home repairs. Let's say your insurance comes up short. You turn out to be underinsured. On a case-by-case basis, FEMA may be able to give you a grant. That's money that does not have to be repaid. A grant to take care of some of those home repair costs. Now, some people may have already early on, they simply had no choice but to hire a contractor and spend some money to do some emergency repairs. Hopefully, those people have saved those receipts, and it's always a good idea for people to take photographs, especially early on, of what the damage was. So you register with FEMA two ways, Dave. The quickest, easiest way, available 24/7, is to go online at disasterassistance.gov, disasterassistance.gov. If you don't have that online capability, you can call in at 1-800-621-3362.
Okay. And that's from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. I actually have that scrolling there, disasterassistance.gov down there at the bottom, or 800-621-3362. That's from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time, based again on the cheat sheet you sent me there, Nate. I appreciate you sending me that.
Right, the phone, those are the hours for the phone line. Of course, the online is around the clock.
Now, I did notice information you sent here. If you have insurance, file a claim with them first, and then you apply to FEMA. But it does, you have a little asterisk there that FEMA does not cover insurance deductibles. That was an important thing, I thought, on that.
We don't cover insurance deductibles. We don't duplicate whatever settlement you may get from your insurance company. That's why, even though you've registered with FEMA, you may not get a grant from FEMA until the insurance settlement takes place.
But that's why you say,
go ahead, Dave.
I was just saying, that's why you say don't delay. Go ahead and submit your thing with your insurance and do FEMA at the same time.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Now, here's what happens, Dave. Typically, before the pandemic, a FEMA inspector would call you, and he or she would make an appointment and come out personally and look at your property and just see what the damage was. Now we're doing what we call virtual inspections. Okay. As so many things have been virtual in all lines of work and endeavors for the last year. where the inspector will call you, and if you have the capability to do video back on your phone with FaceTime or with an Android application, the inspector will sort of talk you through pointing your phone and showing the damage. Now, you don't have to have that phone in order to complete that part of the process. If you cannot get back a two-way video link with the inspector, he or she will just ask you some questions to describe the extent of your damage.
Nate, what's the percentage of folks that have found out that they don't have enough when it comes to their homeowners insurance, and so they're needing some assistance?
I don't have a figure on that, but I can say that so far we've approved more than $119 million mostly for emergency home repairs. In some cases, we've been able to provide some temporary housing assistance to reimburse on a case-by-case basis some hotel costs where people simply had to move out of their home. So the bulk of it, though, is to try to get people, help them get back on their feet. The FEMA is not going to make you whole again where you were before this winter blast invaded Texas, but it's going to kind of get you toward the recovery path.
Now, I love your procedures. It's great. I mean, you make it step by step pretty easy, seems like.
That's right. And when you have completed the call, you've heard back from the inspector, and then maybe some time goes by and you've heard nothing more from FEMA. You have not received any emergency grant. On the other hand, you've not been denied anything. You just haven't heard. Call that 800 number, 800-621-3362. And the FEMA staff member can look up your file and just see what the status of things happens to be.
Now, let me ask you this. Is it only available for homeowners, or can people who were just renting who've been impacted by this also?
Renters, especially if they do not have renter's insurance, their personal property, renters certainly are encouraged to apply. Now, the physical damage to the apartment or the rental home, that's a business. That's a landlord's business, and that owner would then deal with the Small Business Administration, the SBA, and may be able to receive a low-interest disaster recovery loan as a business. But the SBA can also, in a case like these declared counties, 126 of them in Texas, the SBA can consider a low-interest recovery loan to homeowners and renters. So you don't have to be a business operation to perhaps get a loan and some low-interest help from the SBA, and we're talking about an interest rate of below 2%.
Wow. And the reason I asked that is it was a little bit of a selfish question because, as you know, I know Zach and Alan both know this, but my kids, their apartment, they were in a lower floor and the pipes burst and it completely flooded their apartment. When this happened, they ended up staying with us and they've been homeless. The apartment complex did their best to try to get it, but I mean, we're talking standing water for quite some time. Now they've been kicked out of that apartment because they had to move all their stuff out because they had to rip out all the walls and completely redo the apartment. Now, of course, they had rental insurance because we made sure they did before they moved in there. So we've gone through the process there. But until we started talking back and forth in email, Nate, I wasn't aware that if they still needed more assistance, because we still had to pay for them to be moved. We had to pay, like, all their stuff's in storage right now. We're having to pay for that. So if we can't get that covered, if we pay our deductible, we still can't get it all covered by our insurance policy, then they could potentially be eligible for some assistance from FEMA, correct?
That is correct. Again, it's on a case-by-case basis. Right. So it's not just the damage or loss of a renter's property, but some of those expenses, like you just mentioned, can be considered.
And let's talk about the 126 counties. I love visuals, as Zach and Alan know, so I'm going to bring this up here. So you were talking about the 126 different counties, which you could see pictured there, and I'm assuming that those are the ones in red?
I don't see that picture on my screen, but if you've got if the red is mostly in eastern and northern Texas and down a little bit to the southwest corner, that is the affected area.
Yeah. All right. So, and you can check that out there if you want to go to those websites. We've got lots of the different websites you can go to if you want more information about the Texas 2021 Winter Storm Disaster Declaration. That's where you go, FEMA.gov/disaster/4586, which, Nate, I'm assuming that's just the designation 4586 of this particular disaster.
Every disaster gets a number. This is 4586-TX.
I mean, that covers all of our North Texas listening areas there. I mean, Cook, Grayson, Denton, Collin, Fannin counties. I mean, that's just wow. It's just a lot of folks affected by that winter storm.
It's pretty solid. There's a couple of exceptions up toward the northeast corner of that of the Dallas market, and a little bit in the Sherman area. There's a bit of a few places here and there, but it's pretty widespread.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually had emailed me this morning saying that that FEMA on the YouTube channel had posted a new video, even with sign language on there, talking about how a disaster declaration is actually instituted. Can you kind of go through some of those? I mean, how is it that FEMA decides this? How is it decided that this section is included in a disaster declaration?
Well, first, all disasters are what you might call local. And the first responders, the local emergency management departments, agencies, divisions, some of the nonprofit organizations, the Red Cross, they're the first ones on the scene, and they provide the initial assistance. And they'll often turn to the state in Texas Division of Emergency Management when there's more to this than the locals can handle, more than the county government can handle. Supplies are needed, water is needed, maybe food, things like that FEMA can provide. If the state then feels and finds that this is pretty widespread, and this is a lot of the territory, a lot of counties got hit by whatever it was, a winter storm, a flood, tornado, hurricane, then the governor will approach FEMA, and the governor will request through the FEMA channels what amounts to a presidential disaster declaration. And that's what happened on February 19th for this mid-February wet weather event that Texas had. So it kind of goes up through the chain. And if a disaster is more than local and state agencies and resources and supply chains can handle, then it could very well be classified as a disaster declaration.
So we've talked about a lot of, you've covered a lot of the stuff that's actually covered. Disaster assistance include the grant money to help pay for emergency home repairs for disaster-related damage to the primary residence, uninsured and underinsured personal property losses. It says here, lodging expenses, reimbursement for individuals whose home was inaccessible or uninhabitable during the disaster, if not covered by insurance or another program. But it also includes on here, I didn't realize this, medical expenses incurred from the disaster. Now, does that mean if you have medical insurance, you cover, how does that work? How does the medical insurance
That would
work?
mean an injury that occurred because of the disaster, whether it was some piece of debris that fell on you, something that's directly disaster related, not an ongoing medical or health situation, but something that came about just because the disaster happened, and that resulted in some kind of a health impact on the individual.
I think I've been like taking over this entire interview. Alan, do you have questions for Nate here?
I'm just sitting with my mouth open. You know, Nate, we had so much. I'm learning so much this morning, and you probably through your records. I mean, we had thousands and thousands and thousands of busted pipes when this thing came through. And tell you what, you think you're prepared for these kind of things, but I'm learning, you need to keep your renter's insurance up to date. You need to make sure that your insurance is up to date. And I love how, like I said earlier, how you guys just kind of make it simple for people, to go through those steps, because we're already stressed out anyway. And you guys come into the rescue and, help a lot. So we, appreciate that.
So let's talk about the disasterassistance.gov. So here's if you go to that website, disasterassistance.gov, you're gonna see the map where you can click and you can find out if your area is included in the disaster area. If you click on the individual states. Now, I was talking with Nate before we went live here today, just saying that, we have a lot of listeners and viewers in North Texas, but we also have a lot in Southern Oklahoma as well. And even though his specialty and his focus is on Texas, some of this is also available to our viewers and listeners in Southern Oklahoma, but you need to go to disasterassistance.gov and click on the state of Oklahoma there to be able to get that information from that particular website right there. So it looks like we lost Nate for a minute, but we'll see if he'll pop back on here or not. But a lot of information available, a lot of things that I wasn't aware of with the stuff that Nate had sent me. So, I mean, that's one of if you live in one of those counties, the 126 disaster declared Texas counties, you can go to that website, disasterassistance.gov. You can call that 800 number there, as you see scrolling down on the screen, 800-621-3362 from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Central Time. You can, if you want more information about the declaration itself, you can go to that website, the FEMA.gov/disaster/4586. Again, that designation for this particular disaster. Now, there are other resources and stuff that Nate also provided to us that you can get some information about, other resources to help you repair and rebuild. You can go to FEMA.connectsolutions.com/TXMIT. So if you're watching this video in replay, you might want to pause it there so you can write that website down, because it's a bit of one right there. FEMA.connectsolutions.com/TXMIT. Now, there's another thing, if you need assistance during this process, because I know it can be frustrating. I mean, this whole thing dealing with the kids in their apartment, and, my son's staying with us and my daughter's staying, so they've become like couch surfers basically for the last month and a half, trying to find a new apartment and get their stuff going. It's very frustrating because you got to deal with moving out. You got to deal with whatever damage was done. You got to deal with insurance. You now need to apply for FEMA assistance to cover things that maybe weren't covered in other ways. So if you need help just to get through the process, because most of us hopefully will never have to go through this. But if you do, the good thing is that there are people that can help you. I mean, all these websites, and there's another telephone number that Nate sent to us that I wanted to share with you. That you can contact a FEMA community education and outreach specialist that can assist you on your recovery journey after being impacted by one of these disasters. It's a different number than that other 800 number. This is an 833 number, 833 FEMA for US. That's 833-336-2487. I mean, a lot of information we covered in the last, almost 20 minutes, not quite 20 minutes. But hopefully that helps you out if you live in North Texas. But again, if you even live in Southern Oklahoma or one of the other states, because if I bring that back up there again, the disasterassistance.gov, not only Texas and Oklahoma, but also Louisiana, other parts of the country were impacted as well, that were impacted by this particular thing. So 126 different counties in Texas impacted by that. And those are the red counties there you see on that particular map. So
Dave, this is kind of producing on the air here, but am I able to take that info that's scrolling and put it in the comments? So that way people. Yeah,
if you'd like to, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Let me go ahead and do that.
Probably a good idea. I probably should have thought of that. I didn't do that.
I bet you Nate stays so busy just constantly. He's probably running off to a different disaster right now. I mean, it's something else. That works. Look at you.
Yeah, there you go. I see them in the comments now. So you got the direct links that you can go to and get that information, so you don't have to pause the video. Good job, Zach, to get that information.
I did one thing today.
Yeah, I know, right? Outstanding. So that's fantastic. So what else did we not cover? I think we pretty much covered most everything, didn't we?
I didn't know that much about FEMA till this morning. So
yeah, I had absolutely no idea, but I want to bring that up there again. Register for that FEMA assistance. If you live in one of those counties, we'll go through each one of these again, and then we'll get back to our normal stuff, and hopefully people can utilize these resources. So you go to disasterassistance.gov. You can call that number 800-621-3362 from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. You can get more information there about the Winter Storm Disaster Declaration at FEMA.gov/disaster/4586. You can go to that FEMA.connectsolutions.com/TXMIT. And of course, if you're all frustrated and screaming and yelling, want to, hit your head up against the wall, just going through this process, it's difficult. We get it. You can contact one of those FEMA community education and outreach specialists. And there's the 833 number, 833 FEMA 4US, which is 833-336-2487. I think that pretty much wraps it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like what we just talked about, all this info is in the comments, so that way maybe it'll make it easy for you to get that information. You can screenshot it or send it to somebody who needs help, because we had a lot of folks here in Texoma that were affected by busted pipes and just absolutely just took out their apartments, homes, and businesses too.
That was right around Valentine's Day, wasn't it? Right.
Oh, it was.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I've never been so excited for summer in my life.
Yeah.
Dave, were you like when your son came back home? Were you like, hey, wait, your room's been transferred? You were.
I'm ready for him to go. I love him, but I'm ready for him to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We're helping him find a new place. But also big thanks to Mr. Nate Custer there for joining us today to give us the information and the info on all of this stuff to help people in our listening area and our viewers maybe get back on track. It's all helpful. All right. Well, thanks a lot for watching. See you again soon.
See it.